All right, welcome everyone. I'm Des from Intercom and also from Fin. To my left is Nick, who is the founder and CEO of Attio. And to his left is Vas, who's the CTO of Granola. Does everyone know what Attio is? Hands up maybe, or just, yeah, nods is good enough. And then I won't even ask this, but does everyone know what Granola is? Yes, of course. And then does everyone out of curiosity know who Fin and Intercom are? Brilliant. All right, we can save all the intros. All right. Right. What we're going to do is have a pretty open-ended conversation. We will take questions. We will make time for questions as well. But I think the questions we're asked based on the roles that we've heard here should be pretty much aligned with what sort of stuff you want to know. Maybe for very, very quick, can you tell us what your company does and what you do in it? Just to sort of help everyone understand the context for your answers. Nick.
Yes. Hello, everybody. I'm Nick. I am the co-founder and CEO of a company called Attio. Attio is an AI native CRM. Super customizable, extensible, and highly autonomous. And my role is I do a lot of things, but as a what I would like to describe as being a product-led company. I am very, very involved in product and engineering, or EPD, engineering, product and design.
Yeah, cool. And Vas?
Hi, my name is Vas, CTO at Granola. Granola is an AI notepad for people in meetings. That's what we're known for. Mm-hmm. And we're also a product company, and I spend a lot of time on the product and other engineering things.
One interesting thing about the companies on stage here is if you start with Granola, Granola exists because of AI. Granola, the product could not really have made sense prior to November 2021. It's just 2022. It just wouldn't have been possible to do what you guys do. You guys started in 2019, but AI was the great enabler in some sense for your growth, right?
That's right.
Can you say more about so you obviously had a vision that didn't assume Sam Altman was going to drop ChatGPT, and yet here you are.
Yes. So exactly, and I think we've talked a lot about this and sort of what do you call a product like Attio? And I think the sort of term that we've landed on is born for AI.
Yeah.
Which basically means that it is a product that envisioned a world that was, where software worked in a different way. It was highly autonomous. High resolution data was the kind of lifeblood of the product. And then about a year and a half into building it, LLMs became mainstream. And so we were sort of perfectly positioned at the time as this kind of trifecta of things that happened that meant that we were really ready to seize on it.
That sounds like a really rosy story.
Yeah.
Were you actually literally playing with ChatGPT, being like, "Oh, goody"?
No.
Okay.
No. So it's a rosy story, but it's like
just to contrast, our reaction was, "Holy shit, we are going to die."
Yeah.
That was literally, it was like we sell customer support software. Obviously, AI was going to do customer support.
Yeah.
There's only one way out of this for us. What was your?
No, I mean our reaction was, "Holy shit, software has changed overnight, and this is going to completely change everything." And then very exciting that we can now deliver on something much bigger. And to be honest, I think everyone to build a really big company needs some tectonic shifts. Mm-hmm. You need something that invalidates everything that's been built before.
Yeah.
And suddenly our ambition went from we could build a good company to we could actually take on.
We could ride this wave.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And I think you look at companies like Replit, which for 8-9 years built a really good online IDE and developer environment. And suddenly LLMs come along and it's like, okay, this is our mission to democratize code is now not possible. One, not two, 3 orders of magnitude more possible.
Yeah.
And I think we felt similarly.
I'm going to jump around to the questions. We obviously did discuss some questions, but they're not the ones I'm going to ask. When you think about so obviously you started with an idea and then AI enhanced it. Granola started because of AI. How do you think about the evolution of the product from here? So we'll start with Granola because it feels like you could be mistaken for thinking it's really, really good at taking meeting notes down. But if you look at the more recent releases you guys have built, it's chat with your notes, share your notes around the org, have shared folders of notes. It kind of becomes this productivity platform. The question I have for you is kind of where does it stop? Or do you have a sense of the boundary walls? Will you grow up into being a CRM and project management and productivity suite and Slack and everything else? Or is there an obvious kind of, no, that's what we do, we don't go further?
Yeah. Yeah, I think like when AI became a thing, I think like for me personally was when ChatGPT was released. I think was maybe like late
November 29th, 2022.
Yeah. So I remember just like playing around with it a little bit, and it was like already useful for a lot of things. And I think like early on, it was like something interesting, something I wanted to explore. And it was when GPT-4 came out, when it was quite obvious that, oh man, you can like build so many different things with this technology, and it's going to change the game. And for Granola specifically, I think there were already a lot of different note takers that existed in the market. And we actually like started with a problem. It's like, okay, if this technology that wasn't available yesterday just like came around, how can we think from the user problem and build the best possible solution? And when Granola started, we took a lot of different apps, which were basically like looking at how I don't know, like it was like a lot of chatbots joining your meetings. Didn't feel like the right thing for us. What we wanted is something which is more tightly integrated into your workflows, and so we came up with a note taker which is going to be running on your operating system. And it turned out to be like a very good wedge for us. It resonated with a lot of people. But it's not obvious where it's going to stop.
That's what I was going to say. Like the challenge with product development, with like customer-led product development, or even like jobs to be done to some degree, is like we say we listen to the customer's problem, but the problem doesn't stop. Like it's like like they'll say, well, what do you do? I update the CRM, and then what do you? Well, I call the customer back. All right, I guess we're going to build a telephony system too. Okay, and what happens then? Oh, well, we close the deal. All right, let's go build DocuSign. Like if you keep pulling the thread, you'll come to like these bounding points where like, right, there's no point in building our own email or whatever, right? But it's very, I find in AI, it's very hard to know where does your job actually stop, because like some of this has got to do with how AI has forced like what we call like the great convergence, right? Like this idea that you were saying earlier, Nick, like this, the UI of AI is often just a text box. And if it's just a text box, people are going to type all sorts of mad shit into it.
Yeah.
And some of it you're going to be like, oh, that's not actually in the scope of our product. But the user doesn't care. The user's just typing, right? How do you think about that? There's a question there somewhere.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess I don't think that the UI ultimately just becomes a text box. And I'm pretty sure about this because when this is probably like early 2000s or something, there was a product called MapQuest. Do you remember MapQuest?
Yeah.
Where you would get turn-by-turn instructions in text, right? Mm-hmm. And that was pretty crap. That was a really unhelpful way to be told how to drive for 3 hours. Mm-hmm. And actually we ended up with like really nice maps with rich UI. And that turns out was the best end state to help humans drive around roads. So I think UI has a massive place in the future of software, and so I'm pretty confident that when even if we were to go and brainstorm one of these whiteboards, we would start building flowcharts and we would want to see things visually. So I think that the future of software isn't just text boxes, and so I think there's lots of space for good UI still.
I want to agree. I'm 50-50, but like I think there's definitely an argument for like a responsive and adaptive UI. So given what it might be the case that like the best way to instruct a computer might be voice or text, right? Yeah. Like as in just say the thing you want to do.
Totally.
And then how the computer communicates back to you might be a map or a chart or a dashboard or buttons or whatever, right? But I can imagine this kind of asymmetry of UI where like give the user the simplest way to express what they're trying to do so they don't have to learn your UI. Yeah. But then on the flip side, give them back the best representation of what it is that they're,
Yeah. I mean, there's some presumptions baked in there, which are essentially that the tasks are largely novel and that you're not doing, humans like repetition. If your team send you a report every week that looked different every week, it'd be really irritating.
Yes.
And so you probably want some similarity, repetition, pattern recognition, etc. But otherwise, I agree.
Yeah. How do you think about convergence as it relates to Granola? Like, obviously, people flick. I mean, I'm a heavy Granola user, and I would say I alt tab to and from Granola all the time. There are a lot of moments where I'm like, why do they have to leave Granola here? And there's a lot of moments where like, why isn't Granola in this other product? I'm not asking for your 2026 roadmap specifically, but like, but directionally, like, you know, do you have a sense of where the product definitely stops?
Yeah, I think it's basically like it's very early days for AI in general. I think landing on a chat interface made a lot of sense. It's an LLM. It's text in, text out. So it's like the first thing that you built. And for Granola specifically, the way it looks today, it's not how we started as a product. It took us a lot of iterations before it became what it is today. And I think we were learning from every iteration about what the great experience could look like. And it took us like almost a year building it in private beta before we released it publicly. And I think like with AI, one thing that's a lot easier is building demos and building something that looks pretty cool. And it's a lot harder to actually build something that is a great experience end to end. So I think for Granola to kind of like start looking at other categories, it's important to actually like spend time on that and iterate and figure out what this new experience can look like. So
Cool.
I'm thinking about it more as in not what are the areas where we should go, but like what is the first area we can start experimenting with.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. All right, let's change tack a little bit and talk about how we actually build software. Because I think for the longest time, software was built in a relatively similar, like some type of waterfall, agile type flow where like, hey, we have talk to customers, learn the problem, do a bunch of like research, jobs to be done, or whatever your favorite methodology is. Go to your design team, they head off to the forest. 6 weeks later, they come back with the design. You hand the design to the engineers, you build, ship, repeat, go again, etc. That was kind of like, and because it was so mature, people talked about productivity and efficiency and metrics and when's the product going to ship and Gantt charts and burn downs and all that. And then it just feels like AI arrived and just took a big shit on that whole process, right? And so they said, no, this entire thing is totally different now. We start off in a world of improbabilism. We don't know what's possible.
Yeah.
Even if we can see it's possible, we don't know if we can do it reliably and repeatedly. If it works on our eval, it might not work live. You've all this extra shit to think about. How did, like, you guys obviously were born in this, so I'll start with Nick, right?
Yeah.
Like, how did you change post 2019? Like, you started building probably one way, AI happened, you had to change.
It's changed a lot. And actually what's really interesting is that as we've scaled, so we're now about 120, 30 people, we have, so we've scaled, we've become more mature, and technically we should be better at predicting things. But actually, because what we're building is now so novel, such uncharted territory, our ability to predict roadmap delivery has been massively reduced.
Yes, same.
So we used to be able to say, no, this quarter we will ship this, and now we'll say this quarter we'll ship this, and like it's kind of just science fiction.
Yeah.
Like some of it might happen in week one, we're like wow, and then some of it might actually take double, triple as long.
Yeah.
And so I think that the really big change is we have to get much more into this sort of innovative, boundary pushing, experimental mode, and we are, we do a lot more. There's a lot more unknowns, basically, way more unknowns.
How does Granola work? Like, so like just, I mean, without, again, I'm not probing for the future, but like you've released some cool features recently. Well, what's the process by which a feature goes from like someone's head into a live, like, onto my desktop,
Yeah. So yeah, for me, like actually, like maybe like go back a little bit when I was working at Meta. We're building a thing called Horizon Workrooms. I don't know if anybody's heard about it, but it was like Meta's VR productivity suite. And what was interesting about that is that it was basically like working with new technology and trying to figure out how we can actually apply it in the workspace. So it was very new, very novel, and we didn't know what to do. And we kind of like figured out maybe like the best thing which we can do is to talk to the customers, try to figure out what their problem is, build something, and then show it in front of them again, and basically iterate on that as much as possible. So that's kind of like your like learning mechanism. And this is before AI, right? It's like I don't know, like 2018 or something. With AI, I think what happened is that this iteration cycle, you can now run it much faster. What previously used to take you like a week to like prototype, like make a Figma mock-up and then build like the very shitty version of something. Now you can just like build this right in your app, take a look at it, and share it with your team at the end of the day. And
we literally like vibe code out our entire roadmap as part of roadmap review. We'll like literally just be like, show us all the stuff that's coming.
Yeah.
Sometimes that makes it into decks, sometimes it doesn't, but like it's really good to get a sense of where we headed.
Yeah. So like for Granola, I think it's very similar. It's an innovation, so you don't know exactly how the future is going to look like. You don't know what a great experience is going to look like until you actually build this and show it in front of the users. And the entire Granola method, like how we build things, is we talk to our users, then we build the minimal version, like something that we can like ship ideally today, at the end of the week, the latest, and then we iterate on this.
Yeah.
So that's how we build the
But
product.
it strikes me a lot of the uncertainty for you will be in the actual AI, right? Like as in, I might say, hey, I want a feature that listens to all sales meetings and identifies at-risk accounts, and I want it to update something, right? And you might say, okay, let's build that. I assume like the uncertainty here is like, can we actually definitely predictively determine what is an at-risk account based on a sales call? And I presume, but you'll correct me somewhere along the presumptions here. I presume to do that, you might have a set of evals where you're like, all right, here's an entire conversation. Here's what like bad looks like. Here's what good looks like. Here's our expected behavior. Here's 9,000 such conversations. Run the test suite. See how we get on. Is it something like that?
No.
Okay. Now I'm interested.
Yeah. So actually, like I think like maybe like 2 or 3 months ago, there was this post from like some guy from Claude.
Yeah.
And they were like, we don't use evals to build Claude. And we were blown away by that. Yeah. Not because we were using evals a lot, but because we were like, like when you're still small and you're learning about this technology, you don't know exactly what other people are doing.
Yeah.
So we, like from the early days, we didn't have a lot of evals. Maybe just like a couple here and there. Yeah. But the way we would iterate on the product is we would build something and start using it by ourselves first.
Okay.
So that's kind of like the fastest ways to get feedback. I'm gonna build this for myself, and likely everybody in Granola is a Granola user. Yeah. So it's a bit easier. So I'm gonna play around with it by myself. That's your fastest iteration cycle. Then I'm gonna show it to my team. My team is going to play around with that. And you can like pretty quickly tell which things are going to work and which things are not going to work from that. And the next one is like, okay, now we're gonna like show it in front of the users.
Yeah. Okay.
So I can second that. So because of
my question is going to be, before you run, is going to be how will that work when it's a feature that you won't use, right? So we'll come back to you on that, but you can think about that. What makes answer?
No, but I was gonna second that, which is that because of data quality into the models is so important for the output, we want to test these things with real data, right? So we want to actually be building things in no more test workspaces with kind of bullshit things. And so we, as Attio, use our CRM every day to do real work.
Yes.
And so that is our primary staging testing environment. And so actually we use feature flags super heavily and very actively encourage our engineers to just feature flag something and get it into production. And again, we just like, the salesperson will get off a call and be like, oh, wow, that was way more accurate, or like, what did you do?
Yeah.
My workflow is completely messed up.
And like, is that sufficient? Like, as in, like, I'm just like a Fin scale. Fin answers maybe 1 million conversations.
It's not
a week,
sufficient,
right?
It's
like,
the first step.
and like, and we live or die. And maybe this is the difference. Like, we live or die based on our resolution rate. Like, as in, Fin either resolved the conversation correctly or it didn't. And it's kind of mission critical. If your customer support thing doesn't work, it's pretty bad. So we have these like torture tests that we put every small update to Fin through just to make sure that it won't regress our resolution rate, because like that's or even that it won't hallucinate as well. That could be another concern. But I'm guessing maybe there's something about the types of features that you guys are building that the science does. There's less of a top line metric that you're worried about possibly wavering on, right?
Yeah, and then also I think what's so we do have evals, and we do a little bit more, maybe a little bit more of that, but there's still earlier in the development cycle, even when you're just experimenting and iterating and just trying to work out, just doing that with real data in production is super helpful. Cool. And also the flexibility of our product means that it's very difficult. It's sort of like pretty undeterministic what people are going to be building.
Yes.
And so it's actually, there are essentially like infinite permutations of what could be built.
Cool. Let's go back to the question. So what happens when Granola needs to ship a feature that no one in Granola wants?
Right. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Hire somebody who needs it, I guess.
Yeah. I think I'm just going to actively avoid.
Yeah, I mean, there's logic there, like Basecamp or a project management app.
Yeah.
And they literally build for themselves, and they're doing well.
Yeah, I think like ultimately, you don't know exactly like how the future is going to look like, right? So I think the best thing you can do is to learn as fast as possible. And when it comes to like delivering something to your users, if you can align things that like is a problem for you internally to the problem that users, like the external users have, this is the ideal, right? Because then you can get like a pretty good sense about the solution.
Yeah.
Like at least the solution that doesn't work for you is unlikely going to work for other people, right? If it works for you, it might not work for them, but it's like it's a different
story. It's a good
story.
first step for sure.
Yeah. So far we've been quite lucky in terms of solving the same problems for our customers as the ones that we're dealing with. Where it becomes trickier is if you think about kind of like Granola, like what scale the company is, where I don't know, like maybe like 40 people or something.
Yeah.
So it's like pretty hard for us to like imagine.
What even we need.
Yeah, it's like what kind of problems a 1,000 people company is dealing with. There we try to like find a couple of design partners, but even there we would work very closely and go deep with a couple of companies versus like trying to figure out evals at scale.
What is your great hope for 2026? What piece of AI tech or capability would make something in your product a lot more possible, a lot cooler? What would be like a kind of a breakthrough? While you're thinking, I'll offer, I think like if Fin could reliably read the source code of our customers' products and read all of their UI and walk all of their UI to know where everything is, I think will be a big performance boost for our customers who don't then have to do all this documentation and shit. So I always keep my eyes and ears open for anything that sounds like that, because it will be a step change in terms of what Fin can do. This was filler while you guys have thought up your answer. So, okay, who wants to go first?
So I hope that the models allow us to do our own training on top of them, and that we don't have to rely so much on adding examples to context. And
Interesting.
we can build like really big training sets that sit on top of the models.
Yeah.
So AI today, as of today, is doing like a very good job with I don't know, like the amount of data you have in a single meeting. When it comes to like dealing with, I don't know, like hundreds or thousands of meetings, you can actually fit this in the context. So we now have like a bunch of like workarounds that we built. There are like some other companies who are trying things out. And I think figuring out a solution which can deal with data at scale is definitely something that if I had the magic wand, I'd be like, okay, scale this up to infinity.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool, awesome. Okay, we're going to transition to Q&A. I have one ask of everyone who's going to put their hand up or I don't know if we have a way of doing Q&A. We'll find out in a second. My one ask is, you're allowed to introduce yourself. You're even allowed to say your company name, but please ask a short question. Please avoid these 7-paragraph introductions. I will stop you, and that will be embarrassing for both of us, but we have 10 minutes, and I want to make sure that we get through a load of questions. So please, as you're thinking of your question, think of the shortest version of it. The prompt can be too long. Okay, does anyone from Intercom have an opinion about how we do this, or am I just going to riff? Okay, I'm going to riff. I'm going to start over. We'll start with the gentleman who has his hand up over here. Don't worry, I will get to you.
A quick one. I understand that the landscape is changing so unpredictably. What do you think is the role of research, particularly user experience research, in trying to predict at least the short term, if not the distant long term research?
Yeah, I think previously, like when I was working in Matt, we actually had like UXR teams, so like there were like special people who go and talk to the users. Granola is like a very small company, so we encourage everybody on our team to talk to our users. So the role of like UXR is basically like embedded within the engineering, design, and product. And yeah, I think it's probably like one of the most important things. Talking to your users helps you figure out what their problem is, which done together with like updates in the technology is going to tell you like what can actually be possible, what makes sense to build. So
I'd say like, yeah, I mean, at our scale, it's huge, right? We do a phenomenal amount of research, but I think the difference is basically when like the amount of different work streams producing product coming out and then the overlapping use cases across them, what happens is the art of doing research becomes greater than any one person's job. So like you can get away, hey, the PM also does the UX research, whereas like it's harder to do that when you've got like 5 different verticals. You've got early stage, B2B, B2C, all that. You know, that's when it's just like, right, somebody needs to own bringing this feature to 20 different customers and coming back with what's already. And if you had a PM on it, the feature's never shipping, you know. Okay, cool. Question, this guy.
The word AI PM floats around a lot online.
AI PM?
Yeah. What is it, the AI in PM that companies are looking for, according to you?
So do either of you have or hire AI PMs? Do you think all PMs are AI PMs? What's your take on, like, one of the things we didn't get to is like, have new roles emerged? Are there new job titles? Is everyone just updating their LinkedIn for extra money, or is there a real thing happening here? You all do it, come on, stop. Come on, Nick.
We don't have AI PMs. We have.
Do you have PMs?
We have PMs.
Yeah.
The expectation is that they're all thinking in an AI native way.
Right.
And if they're not, then they're not building good product in 2025.
Like we don't have software PMs either.
Yeah,
and
or like we don't have PMs which are like, oh, we build advanced autonomous software and we build old school stuff.
Yeah.
So the expectation for us is that everyone should be doing that. I think it might be different if you were in an org that was transitioning to be more of an AI-forward company. We're starting to build on top of a traditional product. But for us, the expectation is that our PMs are thinking in that way.
And I'm going to presume it's the same with Granola, right?
yeah, I guess like maybe like to add on the topic in terms of like emergent roles and convergence, since we're talking about convergence, I think like the convergence actually happens between different disciplines.
Yes.
So you have like product engineers where a product is convergent with engineering. I have design engineers where like designers who previously didn't have access to or it would require them a lot of time to learn about how to write code. They can now not only design but build a product that they can work on. But also engineers who are, for example, like infrastructure focused. We can see like people joining our team and they can deliver pretty good front end because there's like a lot of examples in the code and it becomes
we're
much
the same.
easier.
Like literally all our designers code now.
Yeah.
And like that wasn't the case. You remember for like 10 years was the whole should designers code, and it was like, oh, there's a nuanced debate to be had. It's over. Like designers should code because it's actually you don't need to really be brilliant at CSS or whatever. You can definitely at least get a working prototype. But actually in practice, we just have designers owning the front end, and it's been a huge productivity boost. Okay. I feel like I had somebody. I'm recording you two. I'm not coming to you yet, though. I'm going to go you, then I'm going to go back, then I'm going to go back for you two.
So thinking about the feature development is getting reduced because development is getting like very fast. Like you can do very fast. So how can you handle that mindset? You can develop things very fast. Like instead of development, you just need to think.
Right. So you can produce stuff quicker than you can think about it.
So
So yeah,
basically like,
it's
how do
almost
you-
like slop
Yeah.
in product form.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. How do you fight slop?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like I would argue in Intercom, like that this is a concern. When we first had the unveiling of Cursor and all that, there was a lot of like, doesn't quite work, but isn't this cool type stuff that like was demoed, then it never shipped or whatever. So we definitely had that issue. But I'm curious, like, have you ever had to put the law down on any of this? Or?
Well, I mean, I think the interesting thing is that it's probably, I don't know, if you asked CTOs 5 years ago what the number one constraint was, it probably wasn't the ability to generate the actual characters of code, right? So it hasn't been like just, if we could just type faster, or if people could just write functions more quickly, we would be better. And so I think the bottlenecks to building good product are, that's great. It's a big productivity boost. It really helps. There's lots of things that can be sped up. But I think the core tenets of building product, which are like getting the architecture right, understanding the user's problems, building things that are actually going to deliver delight and scale and all those sort of things, are still the main job of software engineers. We call our software engineers product engineers because we actually give them the further responsibility of making sure that the product is a cohesive, brilliant experience. And so they can definitely write code faster, but that is a small part of the role that they play. And so far that's, very much still, we think it's going to be the case for a while.
Cool. Okay, people from the back. The lady with the hat.
At the beginning, Des asked us what if we knew what Attio does and what Granola does. But then you asked if we knew who Fin is. And I wonder if you have anything to say about the anthropomorphization of software.
That's a good question. And it'll apply to you guys when you actually end up putting agents or whatever. Like, who am I actually chatting with when I chat with my notes or whatever, like that type of thing.
Yeah.
We really wanted to give Fin an identity for a few different reasons. Like, its initial working title was the Intercom AI CS agent, right? And like, of course, like, who's going to buy that, right? Like, over time we realized there was two really important things we had to achieve with Fin, which, by the way, is like, why is the Fin logo there and a Fin like there and like not Intercom? Is like, for anyone out there who's working in what will be quote unquote called an incumbent company or something that existed prior to AI, you'll have this challenge where nobody takes you seriously when you present something. You feel like, are you all familiar with the Steve Buscemi gif where he has like the skateboard over his shoulder and he's like, how do you do, fellow kids? Like, no one wants to be the old guy trying to look young in some sense, right? And what that looks like in software, like, imagine I came in here to pitch two different companies. One, I said, hey, IBM have a really cool new coding editor. And you're like, you're already bored, right? Like, and if I said, hey, there's this startup out of Serbia called Squeagle, and they were an AI ADE, and they only started like 7 months ago. And you're like, okay. And if you're a VC out there, you're like, fucking Squeagle.ai, I'm gonna check this shit. So there is this challenge, right, of like allow us to reintroduce ourselves. And so that was the reason why Fin needed a bit more punch than just being the Intercom CSAI agent. And then as to the names, we had loads of different names. So there's no real deep mythology behind it. It was like kind of whatever the backronym equivalent is to naming. We decided afterwards, isn't it great that Fin matches with Fionn McCool, the salmon of knowledge, Fin knows everything and all that. But that all came after the fact. It wasn't actually there. We also found out that Fin launched on the same birthday as Huckleberry Finn, which now again we only found this out afterwards. So there's no actual deep thinking beyond that. And I'll tell you one thing: if you are going to name your bot, make sure to buy the .ai before you tell the world what it is. Okay, another question. I'll go here.
What human qualities do you look for, or do you look forward to working with your colleagues or potential colleagues, should I say, or people you look to hire?
Great question. And like we should all have different answers in theory, so we'll try not to plus one each other. Let's start with George. Who's good to go? Yeah, okay. So we'll go for now. Then Attio. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So at Granola, we've been actually like thinking about it while we were thinking about the hiring process, and the values that we look in people is like, first and foremost, we're looking for people who are, like warm and kind, people who you just like want to genuinely be around. Then people who are ambitious and who want to actually take this opportunity that's happening right now with AI and make the most of it. And then the third one is, so we have like kind people, we have ambitious people, people who actually understand and have the urgency to take the action, because if you don't do it right now, like 2 years in the future, it might be too late.
Cool.
Yeah, so we've spent a lot of time thinking about this. It's the number one thing that will determine whether we're successful or not. We basically look for three things, and they are skill, judgment, and drive. Skill and judgment might seem similar, but you can be very skillful and apply your skill to the wrong thing. So a classic example might be an engineer who goes and spends a month optimizing a function that gets run every 3 months. And so very skillful, not great judgment. So we're looking for those three things. I'll just echo that we feel like there's this tectonic shift happening, and we have 18 months would be generous. We have a 1-year window for the next generation of the categories that we're in to be defined. And so you've got to be pretty up for that journey. And one of the big things that we do in our interview process is the anti-sell, and trying to get people who aren't up for what it's going to take to just opt out.
You're like, you should work for Salesforce.
Yeah, please go work for Salesforce. Exactly.
My quick answer, I won't repeat all our values. I'll just say, I think resilience is a really important value these days. I think for a long time, the tech industry got very comfortable being comfortable. And by that, I mean, like, everything was predictable, everything was known. We knew how the world worked and all that. AI has totally torn it all apart. And I think you need to be able to adapt to like lots and lots of change. The guys at Anthropic have this phrase that is something like, it will never be chill again, get used to it. Yeah. And I actually think that's true. Yeah. I think you need to not need the peace. You need to be okay working in the chaos in some sense.
Yeah, okay. Almost like the opposite. You need to be excited about it.
Yeah, exactly. You need to want the smoke.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Now there's two folks over here, and then I'll do one more look at the crowd, and I think we're at time after that. Is that right? Okay.
Maybe on the note of chaos, you all mentioned having to accommodate projects where the predictability of timelines and success rates is way lower than before. How is that showing up in how you structure your organization and how you plan and execute this project?
Great question. Anyone want to go?
Yeah. I think one of the things that, again, is it's getting people comfortable. Getting people comfortable with the idea of a little bit more chaos and uncertainty, and it's getting teams much closer together. So, for example, we have really tried to raise the barriers in the EPD team, the engineering product design team, so that you're not waiting for these like defined roadmaps, defined things to happen before moving the product along the conveyor belt. And so getting teams to work much more closely together, the iteration cycles, the ping-ponging happens quite quickly. It's actually the same with P&M, product marketing. And again, the what you're going to ship, when you're going to ship it is so in flux that team has also got to be really embedded with the product team and be making these like very on the ground, in the moment calls of like, okay, we're shipping, we're going, and like in 2 weeks we're going to do it, and then being able to rally everyone together towards that point much faster than you would have done in the past.
Yeah, for us it kind of like starts at during the hiring process. We're trying to find people who are very good at basically like taking a problem and figuring out what does a good solution look like, and then like building something real, something that they can take a look at. And we actually have this thing which we do where we would invite people to spend a day with us. This is the last stage of the interview. They would come in, we'll do some whiteboarding in the morning, we'd come up with a problem, something real, something we've been actually with. And then they would have like 4 hours to build whatever they said they were going to build. And people who succeed at that, they succeed in our environment. Because at the end of the day, that's what we do. We come up with something, and then people need to go away and get the answer. So like build the solution, show it in front of the user, and then repeat this.
Yeah. I just say for us again, and this might just be a thing about scale, but like we basically have capabilities that we're looking for. Like, wouldn't it be great if Fin could parse a screenshot or something like that? And that can sit with the AI group for quite a while they work out. And eventually they'll give us like, white smoke or a green flag and be like, yes, we can do this. And then it's like productization time. So it's almost like you come out of the lab and go into the factory. So it's like, all right, we now know we can reliably do this. Let's build a product that assumes we can do it and make it happen. The product bit is still reliable as ever. 6 weeks, 8 weeks can be pretty good. some of the stuff can like cycle over here for a long time though. Like you without any, like you might be like, hey, this is 80% reliable. But like we need like 99.9. You know, the last mile can sometimes be a marathon. You know. Anyway, okay, behind you.
We talked about the AI PM and we talked about training and yeah, you get tested yourself in your company, but if you're not your customer, it can be quite difficult. Is the forward deployed engineer, forward deployed PM temporarily stop that until you get your magical wand and you can view all the code and all the screens to do that? Is that like a way that companies are temporarily doing that?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I'm gonna guess you guys don't afford deploy, do you?
We have, not quite, but we've got what we call product specialists, which could be like baby
Yeah.
deployed engineers.
Okay. You know it's illegal to put children. We do, right? So I think one of the big changes with selling AI in general is that it's kind of infrastructural and it kind of needs, sometimes it needs like local context. It needs to be plugged in correctly in your customer. So we go into like larger companies and they're like, and our product is really easy to use. Like you could sign up and deploy Fin today yourself, like, or you probably could. But like to get it to like, you know, whatever, 90% performance in like a massive company, it does involve going around the offices, knocking on doors, being like, can I integrate into this system? Can I integrate into that system? And what we find a lot is that the people we sell into who want the product, they don't have the clout or kudos or skill set or whatever to actually make it happen, right? Like as in, so what we use for deploy for is really just two things. One is like, it's a purchased service where we're like, hey, we can take care of all the integration, and that's how we'll guarantee you a really high performance. Like we have this $1 million guarantee that if we don't hit a certain performance, we'll give you $1 million. And so we offer that, and like part of that is we'll send people on site who will just make sure that we can do all the stuff so we can control all the various pieces. But I think in general, like if you're building the AI version of something, you're not selling seats, you're selling work, and and the things people care about for the work is how much work are you doing and how good is the work you're doing. And oftentimes it's hard to sell an off-the-shelf thing that does that for everyone. And if you want to ascertain that, as in like just remove all the uncertainty, be like, no, if a big customer signs for us, they always get a great experience. It is right now easier to actually send somebody along with the deal and say, hey, let's plug all this in and let's make sure we get the results we want. As to whether or not that will go away, something we've talked about a lot is like the idea of an AI FDE, right? Like as in, what would it look like to have like an agent you could chat with who would do all this shit for you, right? And I think that's where it might go, but I don't think it's a problem right now. On one hand, it's kind of comical that we've kind of rebranded consultancy as being sexy, you know, like, and we're calling it forward deployed, like as if you're in a fucking war zone or something, right? But on the other hand, it is actually true. Like, and like I would also say the E is often not the right letter there. It's like you're forward deployed something, but it's not necessarily engineering. You could be a forward deployed PM or you could be a forward deployed designer, depending on what it is. Is the challenge integrating it into the interface, or is it actually getting everyone on the same page, or is the challenge actually integrating technically or whatever? So anyway, that's my take. All right, I'm not going to hand it over to you guys. All right, question from here.
Can you tell about some failed AI initiative and why did it work for you?
Okay, failed AI initiative and why didn't it work?
Oof.
Did you have any?
It's just so many.
That's a humble answer. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like what I said before, like you don't know what technology is good for, so you always start with like, I don't know, like we're optimists, right? So like you be like, maybe it's gonna be good for that. So you'll build a solution and then you actually look at it as a user or show it in front of the user, and it doesn't seem to be hitting the mark yet. And yeah, it's probably like 9 out of 10 things we try is not something that the end users see.
One challenge we had is that we were trying to build this feature, which we did eventually build, but it was to let Fin go and like integrate with back-end systems so it could do things like issue the refund or change the order or update the flight log or whatever it might be. And you have to mix deterministic and non-deterministic stuff. So if the user looks angry, which is probabilistic, then issue the refund, which is deterministic, right? And we tried to do it in pure text initially, but the models weren't there, so it failed. So then we did what we call workflows, which is this drag and drop workflow builder where you could have like squidgy logic and you could have hard logic. And that worked, but it just was a very annoying solution for our customers to use. And then the models caught up, and then all of a sudden we had to rebuild the whole thing as procedures, which is what's live now. So it's possible that even the failures aren't failures, and that you just needed to wait 6 more months because AI is still getting better all the time. So anyway, all right, last, that person, yeah, you with the glass. No, actually, sorry, you, yeah, yes, you, the lady, yeah, yes, you, yeah, cool. Just wait for the mic, and then I will say some words at the very end, and then we'll let the sound people go home.
Is the product development in this AI age driven by new developments in AI, or is it still driven by user problems?
So is it tech or is it user problems?
It's both. I mean, I think if model development just froze where it is today, we could build stuff for decades. I mean, we're scratching the surface of what the current models are capable of doing. And at the same time, they're getting so much better so fast. So we have this dual problem of like just, trying to maximize what they can do, but also the target of capability moving at an incredible pace. So yeah, I would say it's both.
Would you agree?
Yeah, pretty much. I guess like your example was like a very good one. Like things which didn't work, whatever, like 4 years ago are now possible.
Yeah.
Things which are not possible today might be possible 2 years from now. But then at the end of the day, you need to solve a user problem.
Yeah. A good fishing area is just all the failed startups over the last 10 years are probably now workable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to say, first of all, we'll do one round of applause, so don't interrupt me. First of all, huge thanks to Nick and Vas from Attio and from Granola. Please do stick around. This has been a fun event. You look like a great group. I hope you found this content useful. Stick around, have a drink, have some food. We'll all be sticking around, happy to chat to anyone for as long as it makes sense. Thanks so much for coming out. Please check out all the products. And genuinely, we really appreciate you all coming out. And big round of applause for the guys.